tell you about a great new premium offering we have from our bets guy, Keg. He has been crushing it so much with his live betting streams that we decided to spin off his Keg Cats into a premium feature.
The first 5 shows, we were profitable all 5 shows. The show was up like 15 units about, and, I crush.
Subscribe today for just $10 a week and gain access to all of Keg's live betting streams covering tons of sports, including the NFL playoffs, MMA betting every week, PGA, March Madness, the NBA, and NASCAR. Last season, Keg and the crew crushed in NASCAR with cashes in over 30 races for well over 130 units of live profit.
Put it on the boy for your boy Keg to get Blaney home at 14-1. Put it on the board for your guy Keg to get that Larson top 5 plus 105 home. Let's go!
Learn how to live bet and tail Keg and his crew with this amazing subscription offering. Also included is access into an exclusive Discord channel reserved for Keg's subscribers. Last reminder that it's only $10 a week, so get on board today with Keg and keep running here.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm here with my boy Hoop. I'm here with my boy JT on a nice little Friday. Let's kick it off with Hoop first. How is it going? And are you pumped for this weekend? We're kind of running back last weekend with a lot of sports going on. We got UFC, we got NFL. We got it all going on here at Run Pure Sports. So Hoop, how is it going? And are you pumped for the weekend?
Yeah, it kicks off a great weekend. Like we talked about on the other shows this week, it's basically a run back of last weekend. We got PGA obviously going. We have Showdown content for all that. The NFL kicks off tomorrow. 2 great games tomorrow, 2 great games on Sunday. Massive prize pools across the industry. NBA is obviously still going. Huge MMA card, first pay-per-view of the season, some big title fights. So literally it's like the same weekend as last weekend, but even better because the football games are more important and we get the UFC pay-per-view. So it's a big weekend. We have you covered here, all the content. We always say it, all content on our site under the same price umbrella. We don't hit you up for each individual sport. So, now's a perfect time to get in and kind of run Pure with us here through the weekend.
Yeah, listen, if there's anyone that's down to run back last weekend, it's me and Hoop, right? I had the nice little NBA hit on Friday, had the nice hit for Hoop in the golf on Sunday. So JT, You're going to bring the good mojo again, I'm sure. We're going to have a great show. And
JT started it too. And we called that, not to interrupt, but we called that on Friday. We said, the only thing that we've had missing lately is this trio, okay? And we talked about it on the show. I said, this trio is bringing us to the winner's circle. And it did. I'm going to run it back. JT brings the great mojo always.
Yeah, and JT, you had some solid teams up there as well, so I'm sure you had yourself a nice little decent Friday night, and Winnie is there hanging out with us as well. You've been traveling. I heard you've been out and about at the airports, and you're back. You're ready to go for a big NFL weekend. How is it going over there, JT? I'm sure the people are excited to see your beautiful marshmallow head.
Well, I know that they're happy to see me. It's been great mojo in chat. Go ahead, Mango, and you can take a victory lap. I was sitting there in 3rd place in the big 555 last Friday, and you texted me at midnight like a complete cocksucker and said, hey, I'm coming for you. And, of course, you came for me and you passed. You're a big night. I ended up in 8th, but like you said, it was a good night. Great weekend. This weekend, even better. Cyril Gain versus Francis Ngannou tomorrow. Oh, my God. That's so fucking exciting. Great football games. But you mentioned I was traveling. I was in New York this week. I spent today at the airport, and I realized, guys.
Sorry to hear that.
What's that?
I said, sorry to hear that. You having to go to New York.
So, listen, I got stories about New York. But I realized in the airport, my travel repertoire is missing just a couple of items. And I want Chat to help me out about where I can get one of these items, because I think I need a velour tracksuit. I don't have one. I'm not real sure where to get it. I think Big T would probably know. I'm pretty sure he has one, but I know that it's cut off at the knees. So it's like a velour tracksuit with shorts. And then I need a wheelchair when I get to the airport. I need to travel in class I can't be walking back and forth. I've got to get on board with this. So if you guys know where to get a velour tracksuit, please help me out. I need to order one of those ASAP.
That would be a sight to see for sure. Hoop, did you probably laugh at this. Did you see the BigT, the series he's doing, the web series, Chasing the Goat? Have you seen the shopping he went on with the stylist to pick out his outfit? Have you checked that out, Hoop?
I didn't see the video yet, but if there's anyone that needs help with picking out apparel or an outfit, it's certainly BigT. I mean, my favorite pictures of BigT, I always talk about it. The whole family's dressed up for like Easter or something. I mean, there's so many. If you're friends with BigT on Facebook, which I am, you're privy to all these pictures. Like the whole family's dressed up nice. The wife's got a dress on. The kids got a dress. The daughters have dresses on. His son has a polo on, some nice khaki shorts, and BigT's in his DraftKings polo and some gym shorts and Nikes. I mean, BigT definitely needs help in that department.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed when I saw them. They basically, had Osmo get his outfit done to something. Whistle's got a decent outfit, right, with the little Miami Vice vibe, and then BigT, he's got this just. They go right for like the streetwear, the stylist shorts, very stylistic jacket as well. And he ended up choosing a decent attire, but it was just, I was hoping that they would make him put on like a suit and tie or something. But there's no chance you could catch BigT in that. JT, we got a pretty big slate today. So give us a little preview of the slate and any last second shenanigans maybe to talk about before the chat gets restless. Yesterday on a 3-game slate, 5 minutes in, our boy Taiwan was very upset that we weren't talking some NBA right away. We got a little bit of a bigger slate, so maybe we can dive in. So last thoughts and then talk about a little preview of the slate.
Yeah, I gotta rip a little bit on my boy K. Philippe Burner here. He says New York is fine. Don't believe what you hear on the fake news. I have a friend who heads up guest services at one of the big hotels in Times Square, so I stayed there. In a block and a half, I was offered cocaine, ecstasy, and heroin, and I've always been told I look like a cop. So if they're offering that shit to me, New York is not okay. Trust me. I was there all week. It's a bit of the Wild West right now, and I felt a little naked without my sidearm and a little bit nervous walking the streets there, even for me. So, but you mentioned big slate, a lot of news, and a lot of news coming late. We've got the midday downgrade for Rudy Gobert, which I think is a really huge piece of news. And we've seen this before with Quinn Snyder, where sometimes Gobert, it's not like the Joel Embiid, or maybe it is, because Embiid will get the midday downgrade and then end up playing the way that Doc Rivers manages those reports. But I think that's something that's pretty important, because that would open up interesting value. You'd be interested in guys like Bogdanovich and Royce O'Neal. You'd be a little bit more interested in Jordan Clarkson as well. And then just a few minutes ago, Andrew Wiggins downgraded to questionable. Warriors already without Draymond, already without Klay Thompson tonight. Andre Iguodala going to sit as well, even though Otto Porter comes back. Jordan Poole, already one of the strongest plays on the slate. And now it might bring into play some of the other value on the Warriors. And maybe it even brings into play Steph Curry in a fantastic matchup against the Rockets. Although, slight concern with the Warriors coming off an overtime game last night. Was an overtime loss, surprising loss to the Pacers. Not surprising for our guy here, Kay Fallick, who called it and was all over that game. But I think that's some big news. Then you've got Nicholas Claxton, who is doubtful. That's a really interesting game. I think that's still got the highest total on the slate with the Nets and the Spurs. So, and then of course the Miami value. Miami missing Tyler Herro. Kyle Lowry is out. Bam is back. Jimmy Butler is back, hopefully looking for a little bit of vengeance after he got ejected early the other night. So like you mentioned, big slate, but I think there's some interesting value spots, some news that it might behoove us to backload, as some of our guys like to do.
I mean, I love a good backload. So, it could be a good night over here for me. JT, before we dive in, we got to get the likes up. We got to get people subscribing. We'll wait for some more people to slide in. But I have one more thing we have to talk about before we discuss this slate. Our boy, Kay Philippe, he delivered some charts last week. I think the people loved it. And I think we got to run that back. I mean, the schedule has been up every day since the past week, right? No excuses. Kay Fallick saying the schedule's not up. Also, we made an upgrade to the schedule. It used to have a white background. We're back to the black background. Captain changed that up today. So just got to say, we need the Kay Philippe charts today. Am I not wrong, JT?
Yeah, it's Friday. And that means, and especially on a slate this big, especially with so much news, we already talked about news in Utah, news with Golden State, news with the Nets with Claxton doubtful, news with the Miami Heat. We absolutely need a Miami Heat chart. So, couple of things. Got to do it in the NBA chat channel, as well as hit him up in his DMs. In fact, hit him up on Twitter. He had a good night last night. He should be in a good mood. I popped up. I was on my way to the airport early this morning. I see that he was already in there in the NBA Discord talking about the slate. Hit him up, ask him for the charts, tell him we absolutely need them, and also congratulate him on a nice night last night.
Yep. Hit him with the congratulations. Hoop, what's your favorite chart you're looking for today? You look at the news. What is the spot you're like, I need the K Philippe chart. I need to know the breakdown. What's the game that is eyeing up for you that we can have K Philippe maybe put together in the Discord?
I think it's got to be the Utah Jazz. Like if Rudy Gobert is out, Hassan Whiteside out as well, like who gets those minutes? Like who's going to play here without really a true big man? I think the charts would be super valuable for the Utah Jazz team here, where I think it is somewhat likely that Gobert does sit at home against the Pistons. Like they're going to probably kick their ass either way. We need the charts for the Jazz game. I mean, can we make this happen or what?
Yep, let's get those charts. We got the Detroit expert Hoop here to break that down too, so we'll understand how bad that defense is. Should be a great show. Let's break it down. Let's dive into this slate, and let's kick it off with the Lakers and the Magic, where this is actually kind of an interesting game, but I'm torn if I want to lock myself into some of these guys. LeBron James at that price tag, you can make an argument the Lakers, they're actually favorites, which they're not favorites often. They're pretty overrated. And LeBron James could easily have a massive game at 11.4K on the road. On the opposite side, you also have some really good price tags on some of these Magic players. I mean, Cole Anthony is at 6.7K, which that feels cheap for him, but Jalen Suggs is in the lineup now, 4.8K. Minutes limit looks like it's been lifted, 34 minutes last game. Franz Wagner, we got him at 5.3, which feels very cheap for him, even though Suggs is back into that lineup. And I mean, Mo Bamba, I don't know if you guys saw what he did the other day against Joel Embiid, but obviously the ceiling is there and he can get the job done. I think he had 49 altogether, and I think he had like 40 or more in the first half. So we know what his ceiling can be, and the Lakers are not a team that we're scared of. So JT, let's go to you first on this. What are you doing here with LeBron and the Magic? Because this is a game that I think, yeah, it could be a good game, but there's so much news later on and so many other plays. I don't see myself gravitating to too many options here besides Jalen Suggs, who I think is one of the better values on this slate.
Yeah, Jalen Suggs' price point jumped out to me, but so did Franz Wagner's and so did Cole Anthony's. Then you remember that these guys are now all fully healthy with Suggs back. You've got a lot of bodies there. It does seem like they are going to move to a tighter rotation. Talked about Suggs getting 34 minutes. Cole Anthony got 32 minutes last game. Franz Wagner, I think, got 33 minutes. The big thing here, though, Wendell Carter Jr. is probable tonight. He missed that last game. He's actually missed a couple of games. So now if he comes back, a little bit of concern about what those rotations are going to look like. You've got to feel that most of those big men are going to be clipped at least some minutes, but maybe not Franz, maybe not Cole, and maybe not Suggs. I don't know if I want to play them all together. And then the Lakers side, Malik Monk looks like he's priced down a little bit. Lakers are struggling. There's news now that Frank Vogel is on the hot seat, that his job may be in jeopardy. And I think he's searching for answers, and you can expect that Malik Monk, even though for some reason he didn't start the last game, he threw out that weird elderly starting lineup once again. But I think Monk here is somewhat interesting, but you're sacrificing the late news and the late value. And if that news breaks the right way, like Hoop was talking about, you're going to have so much value that is almost in must-play territory on Utah in a matchup against the Pistons. And same thing for the Warriors against the Rockets. So I think it's tough for me, at least on my main lineup, to get much out of this game.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, I don't know how much Suggs I'm going to have. I keep going back and forth. And with this Warriors news, that might get me off Suggs a little bit more because of the opportunities that you have at the guard spot. You can go later on. I mean, we'll talk about it as we get there. Coop, how are you handling this game? I mean, I think LeBron is clearly a great spend up, but I don't know if I need to go there today. And then these other options are really interesting on Orlando. And of course, Hoop, we cannot not mention the Dwight Howard revenge game against Orlando, right? I mean, of course, you got to mention the revenge for Dwight tonight.
Yeah, it's a game that, typically on an 11-game slate, we'd look at it and say, no thanks. But unfortunately, I think we do have some plays here. You don't want to go overboard, like both you guys said, because there already is good value later on, and there could potentially be more. Obviously, LeBron James, if you want to spend, I think it's a great spend on this slate. You don't really have to worry about the late news when deciding on whether or not to play LeBron James, because he's just, 11-4. I'm more worried about the value here. I don't want to overdo it, the value, and then later value opens up that's a lot better. But LeBron James, standalone, great play. I love what they're doing with Russ, just like finally now admitting that, hey, this situation probably isn't going to work out. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, we can sit here and say we told you so, but we kind of did say we told you so. That wasn't going to work. It was never going to be a good fit with Russ and LeBron. Russ has been a disaster. Now they're saying Vogel, basically it's up to him what he wants to do with the playing time. They yanked him early at the end of last game. He's just not a good fit. The guys that need to start playing more, Malik Monk needs to be out there. Like LeBron has always played well with guys like Malik Monk. They got Wayne Ellington. Use him. Like those are the guys that LeBron has had success with all throughout his career, not dudes like Avery Bradley and Russell Westbrook and guys like that. So only LeBron James for me on the Lakers side. But then on the Magic side, like Cole Anthony at 6'7", that's a cheap pricing. And the Magic are going to get up for this game here against the Los Angeles Lakers. So Cole Anthony, I think, is a fine play. Suggs at 4'8" is a fine value play. I mean, you look at what he's been doing lately. We're 33 minutes last game. If he's going to play 33 minutes, he's going to be one of the better value plays on the slate. Franz Wagner, again, too cheap at 5.3K. The key here, though, is I think we all agree on the fact that you just don't want to overdo it with Orlando Magic. Don't play 3 Orlando Magic. I'd probably only play, if you're doing the full 150 tonight, only 1 Orlando Magic guy per lineup. But these guys individually, I think, are good plays.
All right, and Hoop, Matthew Hawkins he's saying, come on, man, Howard hasn't been in Orlando since Hoop was in high school. I mean, is that correct? Hoop, what was the graduating class of Hoop? What year did you get out of high school?
2002. So dude might be accurate. I don't know. Like when did Dwight leave the Magic? Probably early 2000s, right?
Maybe, that was the title run, right? I think that was the year he was. Maybe it was a little bit after. I'm pulling it up now. Let's see. When was Dwight?
Listen, the one thing you got to understand about Mangone, there's not a narrative revenge birthday that Mangone misses. So I mean, he'll go back 25 years if he has to. So I can promise you that, Matthew.
Yeah. So Dwight's man, it's funny. Dwight last played 2012 with the Magic. So
okay. So 10 years off.
It's been a while. Dwight's been in the league for a long time. And the funniest thing is he was with the Lakers. Remember 2012, 2013? He was with the Lakers 2019, 2020, back with the Lakers. So he's been with the Lakers 3 different times. It's just crazy to think. But yes, this is a game that we like a little, but we're going to limit ourselves a bit. There's some better games going on. Also, news might pop up, especially in this next game that could be really important. That's the Los Angeles Clippers and the Philadelphia 76ers. JT hinted at it a little bit before. Let's go to Hoop here first to talk about it, because I think this could be an amazing spot for Tyrese Maxey. We can easily have Curry out, and if Curry's out, these guards are just going to get pounded minutes. And the Los Angeles Clippers, man, they are not a good basketball team. They're a team that we can target. And also, if you look over the past 3 weeks, I kind of pulled up some usage stats. Joel Embiid has a 41% usage over the last 10 games, which 41% is massive. And it feels like they just need him to do everything right now. And a matchup against the Clippers, we just saw Jokic go for 93 fantasy points. I mean, what is Embiid going to do here, Hoop? I mean, Embiid is going to be low owned, it seems like. I don't think people are going to gravitate towards him, and he could have a monster game. So I think Embiid is really in play for tournaments at his ownership. And I think Tyrese Maxey, with no Curry, is going to be someone that we're going to want to get into our lineups. And if we get him into our lineups and then we get Suggs into our lineups, well, what happens? We run out of these guards later on that we might have some interest in. So break this one down, because this Sixers side could be really interesting if Curry ends up being ruled out.
Yeah, it's tough. Like you said, I mean, you start to run out of spots. If you play one of, Anthony or Suggs, and then you're looking at Maxey, and you're filling up your guard spots really quick. And there's going to be guys later on like Conley and Jordan Clarkson that we might want to play. So I'll take my chances and be fading the 76ers for the most part. Like, yes, Embiid's going to be lower on. I just prefer the other spends on the slate. I'll take my chances and just hope the 76ers blow out the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers are atrocious. Like you said, there's 11 games on the slate. we can't get involved in all of them, or at least you shouldn't be looking to get involved in all of them. To me, this is a game where I'm willing to say, you know what? If it beats me, it beats me. I'm going to be off of it. The Clippers team, there's just no continuity. There's just no structure to their team. Just been a disaster for them without George and Kawhi, obviously, all season long. And then on the 76ers, yes, like if Seth Curry's out, some of these guys are going to boost, but it's not like a cheap price tag for Maxey. Like he's $6K. He still has to go out there and do something. He'd be in a much better spot without Seth. But, man, I just don't think I can go there because of the fact that this game is at 7 p.m. Eastern and the spots start to fill up quickly. So going to be mostly a fade for me here.
All right, JT, we'll shift on over to you. But just so you know, we got hit with the in the Discord chat. K Fallick has put some charts together on the Jazz. So, he's listening to your responses. So if you got any more, he might have some time on his hands after a nice little win. Might be feeling good. Maybe he'll put together a chart for you if you hit him with the JT, break it down for me, though. What are you doing here with these Sixers? Because I think Embiid and I think Maxey are two guys I'm really considering getting into some of my lineups tonight.
Yeah, well, first on K Fowley, the most important thing is what kind of mindset he's in. And today's the day. Today is a good day. Great night last night. Great mindset. Like I said, up early, energized. He's going to put some great charts together. I'm excited. I'm going to go look in there in a second. As far as the Sixers, I kind of side with Hoop here. I think that this is an opportunity after a very tight game and a tough loss the other night in Denver, where it seems like a spot where the Clippers just lie down. And, Maxey, okay, but I really prefer these other guards later on, even in a game that we really haven't talked all that much about. For the same price, there's a guard at the same price that I greatly prefer to Maxey, simply because, what's the upside with him and with Embiid on the team and Tobias Harris? Speaking of Tobias Harris, he might be the guy that I would look at more than anybody else here on the 76ers. 6,900 for Tobias. Looks like he's finally getting over that shoulder injury a little bit, putting up some decent minutes and decent games. And I think that price tag is a little bit too low. Again, if I think that Gobert is not going to play, then I probably don't have a lot of interest in him either. But I think if I'm looking on this team, I don't want to leave him out.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Before that, though, please hit that like, hit that subscribe on the channel. It helps us out a ton. And if you are not subscribed to the channel, the reason to do it is we got our guy DB. He's in the Discord chat, and he couldn't find the link. Well, if you subscribe to the channel right below JT's mug, the little red button, it notifies you when you go live. Or you can just subscribe and take that notification bell off if you don't want that notification, dinging all the time. All you got to do is take the bell off, and then it pops up in your YouTube chamber, so you don't really have to search it. You just go to YouTube, and it's right there at the top when we are live. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. I know Simon will appreciate it, and I know JT appreciates it as well. Let's move on to this next game, though, and let's talk about the OKC Thunder and the Charlotte Hornets, a game that I don't really want to go to. But PJ Washington, he is questionable, and you could see the Hornets have a bit of a tighter rotation against this Oklahoma City Thunder team. And we typically like to target the Thunder with big men. So Mason Plumlee maybe becomes in play at 4-2, but I just don't know if I want to go there today. And LaMelo Ball is 8.6K, and SGA, he's also 8.5K, and his usage rate has been like around 32% lately. And he's been really good, but we know his downside can be bad too. I mean, he had 65 fantasy points against Brooklyn. Against Dallas, he had 52.5, so he can pay off that tag. But sometimes when you get the Spurs, 30 fantasy points. So we know the range of outcomes is wide. They have nice price tags, LaMelo Ball and SGA. Hoop, we'll go over to you. Are you getting exposure to any of these guys in your lineups? Feels like it's better for maybe 150 and maybe you pair them up together. But
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple game here. No, is it my internet cutting?
I don't know. One of our internets is messed up.
LaMelo, yeah, it's a game that obviously another one that you're not super excited about for fantasy purposes. It's an 11-game slate. Like the Thunder are not a team that we want to target really on these bigger slates. They're 10-point underdogs here. I guess they're always probably like 10-point underdogs, but SGA has a price tag 8.5, which I'm not super excited about. There's just no way I could play him over the guy on the other side in LaMelo Ball, who has a great price tag at 8.6. He's definitely my favorite play in this game, but Man, the Thunder, I cannot play the Thunder on this slate. I think it's a fine spot to fade the OKC Thunder here. And then on the Hornet side, really the only guy I'm super excited about is LaMelo because of the price tag and, the nice floor, probably like a 40 fantasy point floor here in this spot. Think he can get it done. PJ Washington is questionable. He's 3-8. I guess I overlooked how bad he's been. You pull up the game log and 18, 6, 9, and 12 fantasy points. He's playing in the upper teens, kind of the odd man out here. So definitely I'd initially put him on the cash chart and kind of pulled up his game log and said, oops, not going that route. So he's now off the cash chart and certainly out of play, and he's questionable tonight. But really it's just going to be LaMelo in this game. I think he's a great play at 8.6K.
All right, JT, I'll go over to you. Thunder and Hornets. Is this like New York City and you want nothing to do with it, or are you loading up with some Hornets and Thunder into your lineups?
Definitely not loading up on this game. Two teams that are pretty healthy outside of PJ Washington, but like Hoop mentioned, you look at what's going on there, and Plumlee's getting 24, 25 minutes. I think he's got as much as 27 in the last week. And then PJ's there, 17, 18 minutes a night. So seems like these other guys are certainly more in favor, definitely getting more minutes than him. And I'm just not all that interested in this game. I think that Plumlee's okay if you wanted to take a risk here against the Thunder, but I do think if you're going to pay down at center, I actually think there's some better options on the slate. So probably not going to have a lot of this game.
All right, JT, one more question. We got someone in chat asking no interest in Wiggins getting 30 minutes. And I saw our guy, Gary, who did the playbook. He had some interest in Wiggins too for the Thunder. I think it's the wrong slate for Aaron Wiggins. Like if it was a 5-gamer, sure, but I think it's the wrong slate for sure. You agree here?
Yeah. First of all, Wiggins is coming off an absolute ceiling game for him. The minutes. So someone says 30 minutes a game. Well, not every game. And that's the thing with the Thunder. You get that volatility. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Jerome? Is it going to be Mann who's going to get the extra 10 minutes on that night? And I think with the value that we have in some of these other games, the value that may open up later, I think you're right. I don't see it as a slate where Aaron Wiggins is going to win it.
Yeah, Hoop, if Aaron Wiggins beats us, he beats us. That's how I feel on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, the only way he becomes in play is if for some reason, like we don't get the value that we think we're going to get, if like Gobert's announced in or something like that. And then it's still a scenario where you're only playing him if you just get everything you want and you need like another full punt. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get with the OKC Thunder game in, game out. Yeah, he's been averaging 30 minutes a game. That's a 2-game sample size. All right. That's a very small sample size. He could easily just go back down to like 18 or 20. Just don't know what you're getting. A lot of uncertainty. But like I said, if we lose some of the value that we think we might get and he gets you everything, I'm always for a full punt, which is what he essentially is.
Yeah, well, there is one shooting guard, small forward eligible guy just like him, was a little bit more that JT Hayes absolutely loves. He loves himself some John Conchar. So that's a guy I think I'd like a little bit more for $800, but we will talk about that when we get there. Let's go to JT for this one, though, because he is an Atlanta Hawks guy. He's got all the info on it. And we talked about the Hawks pre-show a little bit. The Atlanta Hawks are a team that they are struggling defensively. If you look over the last 3 weeks, they are the worst team defensively in the league. They're also playing at a fast pace. And this is a game that I think is really good to target. I mean, Jimmy Butler is someone that I looked at the slate on Wednesday. I saw 26% Jimmy Butler, and I understood it was a really big slate, but I said, that's too low. And then what does he do? He gets ejected, but that's okay because maybe people just don't understand that he was a great play and still is a great play here. He's someone that I'm going to have him on at least one of my teams today. No doubt I'm going to have some Jimmy Butler exposure. I'm curious what you're doing with Jimmy Butler against this Hawks defense and what you're doing with guys like DeAndre Hunter, who's been playing a lot of minutes and playing great, and Trae Young, who was a great spend up, I think, on this slate. You could even make an argument for John Collins could have a really good game. So this is definitely one that I want to get some exposure to. How about you, JT?
I like the Miami side. I like Butler here in particular. I do like Bam Adebayo. 7.5 is a great price against this Hawks team. I think you can even play Gabe Vincent here at 4.8 just because of the injury usage there. You've got Caleb Martin. If he starts at 4.4 I don't want to go too deep. I might go 2 guys on this Heat team. But with the Hawks, with Capella questionable, if Capella plays, probably takes me off of this whole team because what we've seen so far this season now with these teams having a few more extra bodies thanks to the COVID protocols and the roster expansion, is that when one of these guys that usually plays 28, 30 minutes comes back, it just completely throws off the rotation. So if Capella's in, I'm going to be completely off. Let them give them a game or two to figure out exactly what they're going to do, and let the price on DeAndre Hunter come back down, as well as potentially Trae Young. I think if you're doing 150, sure, you can have a little Trae here, but I think that it might be a situation where there's just too many bodies and too many other spots where it's far more predictable who is going to get minutes and usage.
Well, I'm doing 3 lineups today, and I think he's going to be in one. We'll see. There's other guys I like, especially there's a point guard we'll get to later that I definitely want to discuss that I'm going to get some exposure to, and some other ones. But Hoop, what are you doing with Trae Young? Because 10-3, it feels expensive, but a lot of the stats I look at, it seems like he's a really good option here. It does feel like a tougher spot because it's like Miami, a little bit slower pace. But I like the idea of playing like a Trae Young and a Jimmy Butler and even a Bam Adebayo. What are you doing here with this game? Because I think it's one that can't get overlooked on this slate.
Yeah, so I mean, the guys on Miami, it's pretty clear. I mean, I know I shit on Bam quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. Not necessarily because I hate Bam, but because I think this Yurt-7 guy is pretty damn good, and he just played the Bam role perfectly over the course of the last few weeks. Bam comes back and drops a 55 burger right on my forehead, took his nutsack out and put it right on Who's forehead and said, here's a 55 spot for you. And now at 7.5K, I have a lot of interest in him for DFS purposes. But, you know, some of that had to do with Butler getting ejected, but still 55 fantasy points, 7.5K. He's cheap. I agree with you on Jimmy Butler. I played him the other night, felt good about it, and he only gets 15 minutes because he gets ejected. I want to go right back to him in this spot, 220 total. The Heat are, 2-point underdogs here, so I love Jimmy Butler. I love Bam. And then I kind of agree, like, a lot of what I do with the Hawks depends on Clint Capella's availability, and this is a 7:30 Eastern game, so we should have it. But if he's out, I'm going to keep playing guys like DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter playing a ton of minutes, 37, 36 minutes in the last 2 games. And then Trae Young will become more of a play as well. I don't hate like going Butler, Bam, and then playing like Trae on the other side in tournaments. I mean, Hawks need to pick up some wins here, and their best way to pick up wins is to keep the ball in Trae Young's hands. So I like those guys on the Hawks side. I like them even more if Capella is to be ruled out. But the clear plays for me in this game are Bam and Jimmy Butler. I think both really strong options tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're both very strong options. Let's go over to the next game. It's not a pretty one. I think this is the one we can quickly move on from. Maybe I'm wrong. I know Marcus Smart is questionable, Nasir Little questionable, but I don't want any Portland Trailblazers. I don't want any Boston Celtics. I understand. Yeah, could like Brown or Tatum have a ceiling game? Sure. But I think there's other guys that can have ceiling games on this slate in better spots. JT, break it down for me between the Blazers and the Boston Celtics. Are you getting exposure to these guys in your lineups?
As you guys know, I had some time on the plane, and I spent 15 minutes going back and forth looking at this game, trying to get excited about some of the Celtics because of just how porous Portland's defense is. I don't think I could do it on this slate. So I'm with you there. Even CJ McCollum now, a couple of games under his belt, priced down at 7-7. I just think there are probably better plays on this slate than anybody in this game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And JT, you travel a lot. So what do you do on the plane? Do you read a nice book? Are you watching an in-flight movie? I mean, what's your favorite snack of choice? What's JT doing on the plane?
Yeah, I was breaking down the slate. I was breaking down tonight's slate, and I was looking at NFL weekend. So it was, and then I had to actually revise a memo for my day job. So it's a busy flight down. And then I realized that we were maybe close to landing, although we were in some heavy, dense fog. So, it was a good day.
You pen and paper? Are you writing down the slate old school style too, writing everything down, or you got the iPad or something?
No. I'm doing it on my laptop. I'm making notes, and I've got a pretty expansive memory. So I can look at a slate, identify which plays I think are underpriced, identify where the injury situations are, and then what spots we might need to wait to make a decision on until lock. And that's the thing, who brought up with that situation in the Atlanta Hawks game with Atlanta. We'll have their news at 7:30. We might have it at 7:00 by lock. There's a chance we might not have this news on Rudy Gobert until 9:00 tonight. There's a chance we might not have the news on Andrew Wiggins, which opens up some other plays on Golden State until 9 o'clock tonight. So it's a night where you got to figure out how comfortable you are with embracing risk and saying, you know what, I'm going to go for it because I know if Gobert is out, these guys are going to smash.
Yeah, it's one of those nights, JT, I always say, maybe not the best night to be worrying about dinner. Or order some pizza. It's a Friday night. Get the pizza. I think it's the right call. You got to worry about your lineups a bunch. Hour and a half before each game, you'll hear the coaches talk. So you might not get the Jazz news. You might have to make a Hawks decision beforehand. So that's my thought process on this slate. You're going to be stuck at the computer a little bit tonight. Hoop, how about you? How are you handling this game here? It feels like a really good fade, especially with some of these games that we got coming up. I mean, it's going to be a pretty big slate. We're going to be stuck to the computer, it feels like, for a long time. So what are you doing with this game?
Yeah, Portland starting to get some guys back. The prices are still pretty elevated. And then the Boston Celtics are, typically a team that we're not looking at for DFS unless they have a bunch of injuries, and they do not currently have a bunch of injuries. So this game is a good one to fade tonight.
All right, well, let's fade that game. Let's move on over to the next one. We got 415 watching, 145 likes, so let's get those up. JT, I want to go over to you for this next game. We got the Bucks and the Bulls, and Hoop and I both have one guy on the cash chart on this game. I don't know if you've checked it out yet, but who's your guess? Who do you think is on the cash chart in this Bucks and Bulls game, and who else are you looking at getting into your lineups here?
So first, my guess, because I think it's pretty obvious, is it Precious?
No, we're on the Bulls and the Bucks.
Oh, we're on the Bulls and the Bucks. God damn it. You're going in a weird order here. All right. Bulls and Bucks. Let's see. You guys gonna be back on IO?
No IO. At least for me, Hoop, you don't have IO on there, right? I don't think you have him, right?
Bobby Portis, maybe.
I had Bobby Portis on FanDuel. I don't think Hoop had him. No, that's not the one we both have, but it's a good guess. We actually have two guys. So now that I'm looking at the cash chart now, which you can check on the site, so be sure to check that out. Give me a couple more guesses, Hoop.
I'll go with Giannis. Let's go with Giannis. I know that you guys play Giannis in cash all the time. So there you go.
Giannis always makes sense, right? Especially on a slate with value. And then there's one more guy. He's on the Bulls side of the ball. Which one do you think it is?
Vuk?
No, DeMar DeRozan at the power forward position could be interesting for sure. So what's your thoughts on him? Sounds like you're not as high on him, but it isn't the greatest spot for him, but I think like raw points wise, he can make sense. And he's been crushing usage wise. So what do you want to do with this Bulls game? Because they're 11-point dogs. So I think you can make an argument, Vooch and DeMar DeRozan. If the game stays close, then I like the run back of Giannis, because I think if those guys hit their ceiling, likely Giannis gets that full last rotation and absolutely crushes. That's kind of how I'm handling this game right now. How about you?
Yeah, I looked at this and I thought, there's one narrative base where every time Bobby Portis plays the Bulls, he generally gets up to play the Bulls. Of course, the issues several years back where he got into a little altercation with a teammate before they got him on some nice medication. As far as the Bucks fully healthy, I think, you could play Giannis in tournaments. He's fine. I'm not going to go back to IO now at 6'1", Kobe White, 6'1". I'm just not going to go back to those guys in this game with that type of spread, with the type of slate that we have, where I think that there are much better plays at those price points. So I think you can look at Vuk, you can look at DeMar DeRozan, because those are the guys that are, if the Bulls are going to compete, those guys are going to have big games. They're going to have to pay off their tags. But I think for me, as far as I'm looking at my own roster construction, it probably doesn't include paying up at those price points for those type players.
All right, Hoop, I'll go over to you. Again, it's a good game, but I just think there's better games in the slate. It could be one of those where maybe if you backload a little bit and then, the news hits and you end up falling on some of these guys, I don't hate it. Just depends on how things shake out. How are you handling this game here?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the cash chart a little bit, and a lot of this just comes down to like roster construction and where you're at, which it's hard to predict right now. But like a guy like DeRozan, who we both have listed, like if he's your last guy in, like I'm not changing stuff around if DeRozan's my last guy in. I'm fine with that. I'll just roll with it in tournaments. I think the approach is, if you're playing Giannis, I think you want DeRozan or you want Vooch on the other side, because those guys are going to have to do something to keep Giannis in for that last rotation. The Bucks are the one team in the NBA. They're just willing to pull the plug on these guys if they get out to a big lead, and a lot of times they do have big leads. So I want him tied to one of the Bulls guys in tournaments. Another guy, full punt, like gross play, Troy Brown. He's 3.4K in the starting lineup. Played 26 minutes last time, got you 14 fantasy points. 14 fantasy points, not enough. But this guy has shown the ability in the NBA to be productive. So I don't hate him as like a full on just punt type play. Bobby Portis on FanDuel, like the price tag continues to just be better on FanDuel for Bobby Portis than on DraftKings. I think he's fine at 6.3. Just a lot of okay plays. If Giannis is your favorite spend, yeah, sure. I mean, the thing about the high end guys in the NBA right now, like they all have the ability to go out there and put up 70 fantasy points on any given night. Giannis, Jokic, James Harden, those guys can just all go off. If Giannis is your guy tonight, play him. There's no issues on my end with that. I think I probably prefer LeBron James over him if you're deciding between those two. But if Giannis is your guy, I'm cool with that as well. Just, I guess, overall for me in this game, a lot of last guy in type plays, like no core plays or anything for me here.
Yep, agree with you on that one. Let's go over to this next game. We got to go to JT because he was talking about Precious. He sounded excited to talk about him with the Raptors and the Wizards, which, man, I kind of like some Raptors here. They are playing tighter rotations. You can make a good argument for Precious. The Wizards are terrible against big men. I think a guy like Pascal Siakam, who's only center eligible at 9.2K, he's someone I have some interest in. And I don't mind Fred VanVleet at 8.5. I just don't know if I'm getting to these guys today because I think there's a lot of studs to pay up for, and I just don't know if they're going to make the cut on the three teams I'm making. How about you? What are you doing here with the Raptors and the Wizards?
Yeah, with the Raptors fully healthy, I think I prioritize the spend ups from the Miami team, and then maybe even looking at Steph Curry, even though it's a back-to-back. So, but I do like VanVleet if you're doing 150. I do like particularly Precious at 4.6 in this matchup. They're going to play him 33 minutes. He's going to be a piece that you can build around and helps you get those other tournament pieces that are going to go for 60 or 70 fantasy points. So I like him. Optos are giving him out a lot of Boucher. He's fine. I don't know if I'll play guys like OG or Scotty, but the thing that we say about the Raptors is these guys all play a ton of minutes, and the Wizards give up a ton of fantasy points, particularly to big men. So I think those guys are particularly good plays. And we've talked about this a couple of Friday nights ago when Fred VanVleet was your play of the day. Said, look, on any given night, this guy now is in the position with this team where it's his team. He can go out and drop 60, 65 fantasy points. The price is very nice on him tonight. Point you make up a little bit is earlier what we've been talking about. This mid-range in the pricing for the guards is so strong that I don't know, like I said, outside of maybe Steph late, if I'm going to be spending up to that 8-9K range at the guard position.
Yep, it's definitely an interesting spot. I like Fred VanVleet. I don't know if he's going to get there for me. I mean, he's 8.2 on FanDuel. He's 8.5 on DK. Hoop, what's your thoughts on this game? I mean, the one thing I look at is I see at 8 o'clock, do I want to lock into these guys? The 8:30 game seems interesting for a bit of some stack options, the Nets and the Spurs. There's some really good options. And then I think you could make the argument, Hoop, maybe you just fade this game. You fade a lot of these early games, especially if the news doesn't fall your way. And I think some people, like, they're going to plug a Suggs in their lineup. They might plug a Maxey in here or there. They might plug in a Hawk guy. And then you could just be unique by just saying, let me start my slate at 9 p.m. Let me just start there. And then you're going to have so many of the best plays, and you don't have to worry about getting too different because just the way your construction is going to be good. I think fading this game might be the right call. What are you doing though here with this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Wizards side is easy. I mean, they're at full strength, and it's a team, again, all season long that we said when they're at full strength, these guys just aren't great fantasy options. That's the case tonight. So you can fade the Wizards and feel good about it. The Raptors, there's some temptation there. Like, okay, you look at Siakam. The problem I have there is he's only center eligible. Like, center's always a very important position on DraftKings because guys always come in so underpriced. And then we have some of the best spends at the center typically too, which we do tonight with Jokic and Bam. So just hard for me to get to Siakam at 9.2 at the center position. VanVleet, like, do I think he goes out and gets like 42 fantasy points tonight? Yeah, sure. But is that going to be enough on the slate? Probably. The Raptors, there's some temptation to play some of these guys, but I don't think I'm going to get there tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I want to get there, but I don't want to force it. I think it's forcing it too much. I do want to maybe force in this game. I think I'm considering this one, and I don't mind that it kind of backloads me a little bit. And then maybe if I don't, if things change where I can readjust my lineup, maybe I'll go with that. But I like the idea of playing a DeJounte Murray ran back with like a Harden or a Kyrie Irving. I also think LaMarcus Aldridge at his price tag is not a bad option. Not someone I would prioritize, but someone that if I fell on as the last guy, I don't think I would hate it. I think Jakob Poeltl at 6'8" could have a big game as well. JT, let's go on over to you. DeJounte Murray is someone that he's been crushing every single week, just keeps going and going. I think he's a great option to do as a run back with Harden. If the game, hits the over on that 234.5 total, well, then it does feel like you just have both those guys crush for you at low ownership. What are you doing here with this game between the Nets and the Spurs?
Yeah, the high total, the fact that neither of these teams play any defense against the guard position in particular, very interested here. Interested in Harden, a little bit more interested in Derek White on the Spurs side. 6K price is down now. And with the way the Spurs have been playing, I don't often play the Spurs, but I do try and look at these guys, White and Murray in particular, and White when the price is down. So I like him quite a bit in this matchup against the Nets. And then on the Nets side, without Durant, with Claxton doubtful, Day'Ron Sharp's price is up there a little bit now, 4.8. Looks like I would expect LaMarcus Aldridge is going to get the start. So I think he's in play at the center position. I don't mind Kessler Edwards for cheap. He hasn't been doing much, but this is a very good matchup. He's down to 4.2. And then, of course, Harden at 11.8. Probably prefer Harden over Kyrie, although I do think it's a good matchup for both.
Yeah, definitely is a good matchup here for both. Should be a fun game. I'm excited for that one, but let's go over to the next game. Before we do that, JT, let's check out the likes. So we got 430 watching. We got 175 likes. What's the number we got to get to give out those plays of the day? And JT, we gave those out in Discord yesterday. I gave out Duarte. He ended up having a big game. I know Hoop, he probably gave his out in the Discord, I'm sure. Duarte
Josh Hart.
was great. Who'd you give out?
Josh Hart.
No, Josh Hart wasn't bad. Did he have the flame next to his name by the end of the night? I can't remember what he scored, but
he got us. He got there 17-7, 4 steal. Knocked down a couple threes. So he was there. Yeah, he got there. It looks like probably 37, 38 fantasy points. We'll take that. That's a victory.
You'll take it on a 3-game slate along with Duarte. So hey, the free plays were not given out. So JT, what's the number of likes we need the people to get to?
Yeah, 434, 189 likes. Oh, man, we got to do over 50%, right? So 50% of this, let's go with 238. We get to 238 likes. We give out the plays of the day. And there's some news, too. Some news that might make us rethink whether or not we're interested in any of these Celtics because Marcus Smart has been ruled out.
Yeah, I still don't think I'll get there with the Celtics, but you never know. Obviously, there's some later.
Schroeder potentially, if you're doing a bunch of lineups, he's been playing well. Portland doesn't play any defense against the guards, so it's probably thinner at his price point, though. His price gone up a bit.
Yeah, I just realized 6'7". That's a weird price tag they put on him. But, hey, we'll see how that all shakes out.
He's actually been crushing. I just pulled that up. 47, 47, and 37. I didn't realize that.
It's like he's been crushing, and now he gets the Trailblazers, who are just like butter. I don't know. So
it's not the worst idea. And JT, you gave out Garland the other day in that good matchup, and he did pretty well. He did solid. So. Yeah, that just sounds gross, though. I'm not going to lie, but I understand it. It makes sense. We'll have to see. Maybe he'll be your play of the day. Who knows? Maybe he'll be the Eiffel Tower play of the day. We'll see. But we got to go over to this next game. We got to talk about the Jazz. We got to talk about the Pistons. And, of course, we got to go to the Detroit sports expert, Hoop. Break it down for me. We got to target these Pistons. They haven't been very good. And one thing to mention, too, if you're playing FanDuel, Cade Cunningham is 5.2K. That's an insane price tag on him, but he also played terrible the other day against the Kings. He got into foul trouble. He was absolutely horrific. I doubt he will run that back again. I'm sure he will bounce back, but we will see. In this Utah Jazz team, if they don't have Rudy Gobert, that's going to hurt them defensively. You also see a little bit more small ball lineups. I think overall, this is a good spot for Cade over on FanDuel, not as much on DK at 7.4. And then these Jazz, we need the news, but break down what you're thinking here with these value plays and the Pistons.
Yeah, the price for Cade on FanDuel is silly. Obviously, this is one of the worst matchups for him. That's fine. 5.2 is just crazy. He has so many outs to get there. Very great play on FanDuel. Not so much on DraftKings, and really no one on the Pistons is a play for me on DraftKings. They're starting to get some guys back. Just not a good team. in a really bad spot. So fading the Pistons, fine. Jazz, we already have some very solid plays. Conley, Ingles, Clarkston, Bogdanovich, all very, very strong options tonight. Rudy Gobert is not questionable. If he were to miss, all those guys get a bump. I think you can bring Royce O'Neal into the conversation a little bit. Eric Paschall, he's, when given the opportunity, has had some big, big games. They don't have any big men here, really. I think, is Rudy Gay questionable too, right? I believe. Thought I saw that. He's off the injury report, so Rudy Gay will play, but they're going to be thin, regardless. And then if Rudy Gay's out, they become even thinner. So all those guys become very strong plays. Clarkston, I really like on both sides. Mike Conley, I really like on both sides. Joe Ingles, I think, is a great play on both sides. Bogdanovich coming off a really big game. So going to want some Utah Jazz exposure here. All solid plays. And then if Gobert's out, they get a boost and bring some of these other guys in play as well, like O'Neal or maybe even a Paschall. I'd be very curious to see who the starting lineup is. What the starting lineup is if Gobert is ruled out. 9 p.m. Eastern game. This is why the slate's pretty interesting, because good chance we don't have this news at the 7 p.m. Eastern lock time. But I think it's definitely worthy of saving some spots for.
Yeah, definitely a spot where you want to save some options here. JT, I do think the one thing I noticed was I think guard could be a little deeper today, where maybe going to small forward for some of your guys makes sense. Maybe playing Ingles in at small forward, maybe Bogdanovich at the small forward position rather than the guard makes some sense. What do you want to do here with these Jazz options? And are you using any Pistons runbacks?
Yeah, who brings up a great point about the starting lineup, because there's a chance that you could see Paschall start here at the center position, which would be, just an incredible matchup here against the Pistons, which the other night, Pistons versus the Kings, Dwayne Casey versus Alvin Gentry. What disgusting rotations. I don't even know what Detroit's doing. They got a bunch of these guys who are like fill out the roster guys that are now playing 30 minutes a night instead of developing some of the younger guys. So as Hoop said, they're fully healthy. I'm completely off this team. If you were like really wanting to play one, it would probably be Cade if you're going to take a shot in 150, but I don't think it's necessary here. And then that's what makes this slate interesting, is that midday downgrade, you think you're leaning that he's probably going to sit in this matchup. Expect the Pistons coming off of a big win, probably not going to do that again. And, there are pivots. You can fill your lineup with these guys thinking that Gobert is out, and you can pivot over to that Golden State Houston game, focusing mostly on the Golden State side. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick a couple of guys, like I said, from the Heat, and then focus late night.
Yeah, definitely going to be a good spot to focus on. We could see so many different lineup combinations. I think you could see Clarkson slide into the in the starting lineup. I think you could see them go with Azubuike as the spot starter. And if he starts, I'm not going to slam him into my lineups. I think he's someone that is just a guy that'll be in there. He'll maybe play like 6 to 8 minutes first half. He'll play a little bit in the second half, and he won't close. Coop, would you agree if you see someone like a Forrest or an Azubuike in there, you think those are guys that aren't really going to get that closeout run and get major minutes? Would you agree?
Yeah, they're gonna roll with guys they feel comfortable with, like down the stretch, and it's definitely not that dude. I would assume that Paschall would be the guy, regardless, that closes out this game if Gobert's out. If he's in the starting lineup, then he becomes very appealing for fantasy purposes.
Yep, for sure. Could be a Rudy Gay, not as a starter, but the guy who closes out. He could certainly close the 5 at times. And Clarkson is definitely interesting for sure. I like him in this spot, but it just depends on how your lineup shakes out. And I think you have some opportunities here with this next game to get some exposure to as well. We got Ja Morant and Jokic facing off, which, man, if you put those two guys in your lineup and fill out some values, I think that's a great team right there. It just depends. Do you want to spend the money on 12.6K Jokic? That's a hefty price tag. I think Ja Morant at 9.3K, one of my favorite spend up guards tonight. That's just way too cheap. JT, I'll have you break it down here. What are you doing with Ja, Jokic, and your boy, John Konchar, who slid into the starting lineup and is only 4.3K?
Yeah, we'll have to see about whether or not John Konchar continues starting. That's the thing with teams like Memphis. Guys in chat asking about Rodney McGruder on Detroit. I don't know if Rodney McGruder is going to get those same minutes tonight. You could look at it one way and say maybe they're showcasing him. They already tried to trade him once. It fell through because of the medical exam for Bull. So maybe he gets 25 minutes. Am I going to do that in my main lineup? No. And I kind of feel the same way about the Grizzlies. There's a guy on the Grizzlies. Ja is a great play. They have like 5 centers though. And, one of these guys gets into foul trouble, which could happen against the Denver Nuggets. Then, it becomes someone completely different that's going to get those minutes. I think I feel a little bit more secure with the minutes at the guard position. You could see a different starting lineup. D'Anthony Melton has only been getting 15 minutes a game. You figure at some point they are going to showcase him. Matchup against the Nuggets, really good for opposing guards. So we'll see if that happens. And then on the Denver side, I'm going to go ahead and take the chance that Nikola Jokic is not going to get another 90 points tonight and not going to go there. I think there are other plays that I'm more focused on. Jeff Green is 3-9. It looks like JaMychal Green has been ruled out or is questionable. So that is an interesting pay down that you probably don't need, to be honest, but it's there. And that's probably about it.
Yeah, definitely going to be a great game. Hoop, before we dive into this Grizzlies and Nuggets game, question in chat, balanced or studs and duds or stars and scrubs? What do you think is the build tonight for you? I mean, there's some great value plays on the Jazz, but you can make an argument that you can go a bit balanced with some of these 8 and 9K guys and then build that with some values. And it's like not going up to grab those studs, and it's more of like a balanced build.
Yeah, I got to give DK a little bit of credit. I mean, they're finally getting the pricing right where they're taking these studs and getting them way up there. Like Jokic tonight, they got his price way up there. And, LeBron's in the mid 11s, Giannis is in the mid 11. So I think it makes that conversation, I think it makes that decision a little more difficult, stars and scrubs, because typically I'm a stars and scrubs type guy. But there are a lot of good plays. We have Bam at 7.5. We have Jimmy at 9K. We have Morant under 10K. We have LaMelo under 9K. So I think there is some merit to going not like a full balanced lineup, but like focusing more on the 8 and 9K range than forcing in a guy like Jokic. So tonight, I think you don't need stars and scrubs. I think on some slates, stars and scrubs, very clear that's the way to go tonight. I don't think that's necessarily the case, which is a lot different than I would typically answer that question.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an interesting slate for sure. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go. And that's why I don't know what I want to do with Jokic. I mean, 12-6. Yeah. If you tell me he's getting 93 fantasy points, that's fine. I believe, I don't know the answer to this, but someone said that Jokic was not on the winner the other day at 93 fantasy points. I'm not sure if that's the case. I saw someone say that in Discord. Was that true, JT? I didn't see it.
I know he was on the big contest winner. I guess maybe it's possible. Well,
I'd be shocked if that was
that's how I feel. I heard someone say it.
You did have a lot of those guys. There were like 5 or I think there were 4 or 5 point guards that got over 60 points. So yeah, it's I guess it's possible in the smaller dollar contest, but I know in the higher dollar contest, Jokic was on the winner.
Yeah, and if like Okongwu had like 39 at like 3.9 at center, so it's certainly possible. But again, if he's going to go off like that, and this is a matchup where I really, really do think that Jokic is a good play, but I don't know if I want to spend my salary. Like 12-6 is a lot for one player. I know we have enough value today. I do love Ja Morant in this spot, and I like him more than Jokic. Hoop, what are you doing with those two? And then what are you doing with these values? Like D'Anthony Melton, he had a really bad game the other day, but he got into some foul trouble. I felt like he lost some minutes because he just wasn't playing well. And he feels like, as people say in the industry, right, a little flop lag spot at 4.2K. I think he could bounce back and have a decent game here.
Yeah, I don't hate that call. I mean, the ownership I don't think will be all that high. Hasn't been playing a ton, and the production hasn't been great. So in tournaments, he's showing some ability to get way up there. So I don't think he's the worst tournament play. I like what they're doing with Jokic now, getting his price way up there at 12-6. If you play him, you're making some significant sacrifices in your lineup. He's the best fantasy player in the NBA. There's no doubt about it. You should have to pay that premium. You should have to make sacrifices, and that's where we're at. That being said, I think it is kind of difficult to play him on the slate because of some of these other plays that we've discussed in the 7K range, the 8K range, the 9K range. So if you play Jokic and a 4K guy, that's the same as probably playing like Ja Morant and LaMelo Ball. Like who do you want? Do you want Jokic in a punt, or do you want Ja and LaMelo? Like you probably have to go Ja and LaMelo there. So the decision is difficult. It should be. I do think the price does keep his ownership in check, though, a little bit. So we probably get a little bit of discount on Jokic tonight. Will Barton, 5.4K on DK, has not been very productive. You know what you're getting with him, though. In a close game, he's playing between 35 and 40 minutes. That's enough time to kind of grind out value. He does have the potential to go big. 30 fantasy points, then down to 20 last game. I think he bounces back here tonight. 5.4. This seems like a good matchup for him. I'll be on Will Barton. And then Morant's a great play at 9.3. I mean, Morant is just, man, phenomenal basketball player. Fun to watch. Conchar at 4.3, good value play. Jaren Jackson should probably almost always be in the tournament conversation. He's got 50 fantasy point upside. He also has like a 20 fantasy point floor. So really good tournament option, I think, on most slates. So this game's pretty clear to me. Should be a fun one. Looking forward to kind of tuning in and watching the Grizzlies Nuggets. We do have some fantasy options here as well.
Yep, definitely have some fantasy options there. And we got 229 likes, 238 is the number we got to get to. So only 9 more, which I think the people will push that home to get those plays of the day. So please do that. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel. And then coming up after us, we got the Up the Lock show in like 13 minutes or so. So be sure to check that out. Before we dive into this last game, JT, K Fallick posted the Raptors minutes the other day. They ran a 7-man rotation, but he didn't post a chart. Is there a difference between posting the minutes and the chart, JT? We got to find that out. What do you think?
Man, I got to go take a look at it. And then I will render a decision.
All right. Well, take a look at it. Get back to me because he's telling me he posted the minutes. He called me a donkey. He's being very hurtful. I think his ego after that really nice ship the other day from K Fallick is getting to him. But let's talk about this Warriors and Rockets game because there is news. We are waiting on Andrew Wiggins is questionable. And if he is out, Kuminga, I think he's going to get some decent bump there. I think Poole is going to get a nice bump in some usage in shots where he could be a really good option at 5.8K. And Gary Payton, he's a good option, I think, at 4.2K. Hoop, I'll go over to you. We need this news. It's important, and it's against the Rockets. And the Rockets are also a team that, let's say that they are missing an Andrew Wiggins. Well, I think we could see the Rockets maybe contend a little bit more in this game, which would be good for some of these Warriors and might be really interesting for running back, maybe a Tate or a Wood or a Porter as like a contrarian option.
Yeah, I mean, on the Warriors side, we already have some solid plays, and they obviously could get better if Wiggins were to be ruled out. Like Jordan Poole's already a guy to consider tonight. Kuminga's already a guy to consider tonight. Gary Payton, you can take a look at tonight. Then if Andrew Wiggins is ruled out, all those guys become better plays. And really, I think the only way I consider Rockets guys if the Warriors are super thin, like the scenario we just talked about. And then, yeah, you bring in Christian Wood a little bit, Tate, maybe a little bit of Porter. If Wiggins is out, I think Steph Curry comes into the conversation. They're not going to want to lose back-to-back games at home. I mean, they got embarrassed last night by the Pacers. They're going to want to win this game against the Rockets. So I think they go all out here. Steph would be interesting because I just don't think many people are going to play him. And with everyone out, I mean, it would have to go through him. And I just can't imagine that they hold him back in any way, shape, or form because of that nasty loss last night. So these guys are all solid plays. If Wiggins out, they become even better plays.
Yep, definitely agree with you on that one. JT, so have you checked out what K Fallick did in the Discord, posted the minutes? It's not a chart. I'm very upset about it. What are you doing with this game, though? Break it down for me.
It's a chart of sorts, and it's a good topic that for this slate, K Fallick was talking about, all right, why aren't we attacking the Raptors? And I think there are some good plays on the Raptors if Gary Trent is out. The difference here on this slate for me is there's so many situations tonight where other guys are priced much lower that are going to get much more usage than they would normally get at that price point. So there's an outside or an outsized expected value on those plays. So I think that's why you make a decision. You can play any one of those Raptors, but if you go heavy on them, then I think you miss these other opportunities, particularly in the late games like this game, which I love. And this is a great situation here to target for DFS. The Warriors coming off a night where they played an overtime game. A lot of these guys played heavy minutes. This is something that I think a lot of people don't factor into their game of looking at what coaches do on back-to-backs. We've seen this with the Detroit Pistons on a smaller sample where it's usually Isaiah Stewart who will get the run on the first night of a back-to-back situation. Here, you know that Steve Kerr isn't going to run all these guys into the ground. So you got to be looking at who played fewer minutes last night, and then you have some opportunity here because guys like Klay Thompson are going to be out. Look, Kevon Looney is not going to go back-to-back 30-minute nights. So it's a night where you might look at Nemanja Bjelica in a great matchup against the Houston Rockets. I like Jordan Poole here. You can look at perhaps if Wiggins is out, and with the midday downgrade, I kind of expect him to be, you can look at Damian Lee here, who didn't play a lot of minutes last night. I agree. If Wiggins is out, and I expect him to be, then you can look at Steph, because now you could say, hey, here's a situation, just like Hoop said, where this may be a close game. Steph at 11-1 on DraftKings, priced a little bit lower than some of those other high-dollar spend-ups. And with this back-to-back being at home, don't worry so much about him in this situation. He'll be the guy to take 25 to 30 shots tonight. On the Rockets side, a little tough, fully healthy, kind of arbitrary rotations for the most part, maybe showing signs of getting a little tighter, but you never know if that's going to stick. One guy that did stand out to me when I looked at it was Jalen Green, just 4.5K. He's getting between 28, 30 minutes. If it's a close game here, I think he can play well. We saw the guards for the Pacers last night do very well in this matchup. So I like a little bit of Jalen Green at 4.5 as well.
Yep. Like the Jalen Green call there as a contrarian tournament option. Might be kind of contrarian on that late night slate too, if you're looking to play that. And one last thing, Hoop, I know you love a good narrative. I don't know if you saw it in the Discord. Rui Hachimura, it's Japanese night. They're celebrating Japanese Heritage Night in Washington. So are you in on a little Rui Hachimura Japanese Heritage Night?
That's exciting stuff. I'm going to pass, though, on the narrative. No Rui for Hoopster tonight. I'm not going down and playing that narrative, unfortunately.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He's 3.3K and he's a good producer, but the minutes aren't there. Wrong slate. Maybe if it was yesterday's 3-game slate, I would ride the narrative out. I think I'm good here. But
and he was born in Japan, right? Like,
yeah,
is that's the whole thing? Because all right.
I don't know if you remember, they used to do the Martin Gortat Heritage, and I forget what his was, but they always do that there in Washington.
He was like Polish, I think, or something, right?
Yeah, the Polish Heritage. I'm guessing they axed that because
we need to go to JT for JT. I'm sure knows all the nationalities.
Yes, JT, as the person who knows all the parents of the NBA players at Ron Pierce Sports, it's definitely valuable information, I'm sure, right, JT?
Yeah, I can't believe you're not in on Rui. I mean, he's going to get 7-10 minutes tonight? Very exciting.
I know. Very exciting, but not as exciting as the plays of the day, which the people, they pushed it home, 243 likes. So let's give out those plays of the day. I'm going to go first. I don't want anyone to steal mine. I know it's a big slate, but I like this option. He's a good spend up. Hopefully no one's going to it, but we talked about targeting the Atlanta Hawks. We talked about the Atlanta Hawks. They are not that good defensively right now. Yes, Clint Capella is back, but he's on a minutes limit. But you know who doesn't care about that? Jimmy Buckets, after getting ejected. Jimmy Buckets goes for a big game at 9.4K. He's going to be a spend up I have some exposure to. So I'm on Jimmy Butler as a contrarian guy at the top. Hoop, we'll go on over to you for your play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm glad you went Jimmy, because my play kind of coincides with Jimmy, because I like Jimmy. I like Bam. And I want a Hawks guy. Clint Capella's in, but they said limited minutes. So I need a Hawks guy. Didn't talk about him a ton, but DeAndre Hunter is going to be the rich parents play of the day. He's playing over 30 minutes. He's been very productive in the last 2 games. He's looked good, knocking down some threes. So give me DeAndre Hunter, rich parents play of the day.
Nice. I love it. I actually almost went with Hunter too. I think he's a guy that feels like he should be 6K here soon. Maybe it's because Capella has been out, but I still think his usage is real. I think what's been really great for him. So I love the call. Definitely I'm going to get some exposure to Hunter on the slate. JT, we're going to grab the candy. Sweet Travis is jumping on with Hoop with the rich parents to fly over for the Eiffel Tower play of the day. JT Hayes, who do we got here?
I think first I need Hoop's opinion. Do we let him keep the Sweet Travis play of the day at like 40% ownership, or we just kind of let that go?
He's not 40%. You
don't think he's going to get owned?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be super high, to be honest. It was a smaller slate the other night, similar price tag, and it was only like 20 some %, and he got ejected. I think we have to let it slide. But I will say, the one thing that does need to happen after that big Friday night win and your face is on that new image, I think he might have to start paying royalties. I mean, after last Friday, the new graphic brought home the big shipper. Your face is still on those marshmallows. I think JT might be owed some royalties here moving forward.
I mean, I haven't seen a dime. He hasn't even sent me like a tasty 12-pack of Coors Light just to say, hey, thank you for the mojo. Thank you for, helping with the. It's downright insulting.
JT, how about this? If we have the big meetup again in March, I'll chauffeur you around again like I did last time. I used Hoop's car, I chauffeured you around. That'll be the way we do it.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting those miles on there, getting the windows down and airing out my bus after G Risen literally stunk me out. I mean, I returned the car, came back home with me. The wife hopped in. She goes, "What the hell happened?" I go, "I rode with G Risen." She goes, "Oh, okay, now I understand."
It was the first time I was grateful for the COVID situation because at least I had a mask when I got into Hoop's truck and I put it on so I could breathe a little bit. But we're delaying. I know you all have to go and get ready to make some lineups. It is the Eiffel Tower play of the day, brought to you by Air France. Once again, France is in the air. My play of the day is not from France, but he is a name that you might consider that goes along with the Riviera. Nice outside summer. It's going to be great. I think Andrew Wiggins is going to sit. I like to target these guys that are great shooters that didn't play a lot of minutes on the front end of a back-to-back. And I don't think he's going to catch a lot of ownership because this news is going to come out late. People are going to be seduced by the early plays. They're going to be distracted. Jordan Poole, Eiffel Tower, play of the day.
Love the call on Poole, and I tend to agree, JT. A lot of times on these slates, what people say? They go, wait, Joe Ingles, the news hit, and Joe Ingles is only like 15%, or, this guy's only 15%. Well, that's because people, they lock into the early guys. They don't sit there and backload and embrace it. They don't have the delivery guy come for a pizza. They got to go out for a date night or something. Maybe they're hanging out with the boys. Maybe they're sweating, getting ready for the UFC or the NFL weekend. We're here grinding this slate out, and then we're grinding the rest of the slates out, and we're grinding on the Up the Lock show as well. We got coming up JSU and Big T and Holden breaking it all down for you guys. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood show. For me, Mangone Hoop, and JT, we will see you guys later.